If you're a woman over 50 and your body isn't burning fat the way it used to, I'm going to give you the real secret and show you exactly how to do it. So the real secret is building lean muscle. That is the secret. But before I go into it, there is one mistake that almost every single woman makes that will block your body from responding. This is the number one mistake. I see women literally grabbing their belly going, I hate this. I can't stand it. I cannot get rid of this. And when you are in that mindset, you start doing things that backfire, restricting calories, cutting out carbs, punishing yourself, exercising harder, looking for the medications, desperately searching for something, for anything. But here's the thing, your body does not respond to being fought. It responds to being supported. And that is what I'm going to walk you through right now. Number one is nutrition. Nutrition is I always say it's the heavy lifting piece. As a board certified nutritionist who's helped hundreds and hundreds of women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s to get rid of this belly fat, I can assure you that nutrition is really the foundational piece. Now, here's the key. Protein is necessary. We're hearing about protein left, right, and center. We're living in a sort of protein-obsessed culture right now. Yes, it's necessary, but protein does not build muscle on its own. It's really important to understand this. You can have 200 grams of protein a day, not recommended, but you could. You could have 150, 200 grams of protein a day. It's not going to build lean muscle, the lean muscle you need. So what does build lean muscle is lifting heavy. Now, yes, you need the protein because when you have really high quality protein, the way your muscle builds is in repair. It's called hypertrophy. So when you're working out really hard and you're doing this heavy lifting, and most women do not lift nearly heavy enough for hypertrophy to occur. But when you are lifting heavy enough, you're tearing these little muscle fibers, and it's in the repair that the muscle is built. And you need protein for this repair process to happen. So that's how the protein thing works. So you can see that just eating protein on its own is not going to build your muscle. But when you combine having adequate, really high quality protein with heavy lifting, this is when it gets really, really juicy and you're going to start really seeing results. So remember, protein supports muscle, but it's the training that creates it. Okay, just really burn that in because it's such an important one to understand, because I'm seeing a lot of women going, I'm eating tons and tons of protein, and they're just gaining more. They're gaining more and more weight and belly fat, because what a lot of people to understand is that excess protein has to be stored. It has to be stored. And in women over 50, it is very likely going to be stored in your midsection. So we need adequate, and then we work up to optimal, but it is the lift. It's the heavy lifting. So pillar number 2 is the heavy lifting. So most women will think that they're lifting heavy, but they're actually using weights that are way too light for them. So I have a lot of clients that I work with, and what we work up to is proper heavy lifting, which is basically when you take whatever muscle group you are working, whether it's your biceps, triceps, hamstrings, glutes, whatever, to failure, meaning that you really could not safely squeeze out another rep. And so for that to occur, you would be surprised at how heavy your weight needs to be. But, so it needs to feel that hard, but it also really does need to be safely. So a lot of the women I work with in their 60s and 70s might have injury, might have limitations. So it's something that we need to work up to very, very safely, because you want to be in this for the long haul, not just suddenly go into a gym with 30-year-old girls and try and do what they're doing and then injure yourself, and then you're out of the game. So it has to be done very, very safely. But if it's not challenging, your body has no reason to change. Okay, that's why it needs to be challenging. So pillar number 3 is recovery and sleep. So muscle builds when you recover. So it's not building when you're actually lifting the weights or pumping iron in the gym. It is in the recovery phase. And most women, particularly if they're panicking about belly fat or gaining weight, they're never giving themselves this proper rest and repair time. This is as important. In fact, it is as important as the working out, as the resistance and strength training itself. It's as important. So the other thing that we often see with women over 50 is they're not getting enough sleep. So poor sleep equals poor fat burning and also poor repair. So if you're not sleeping well, your body is going to struggle with this. It's going to struggle to burn fat, and it's going to struggle to build muscle. So that's a piece also that we really, really need to dial in, is getting not just enough sleep, but enough deep REM sleep, that deep sleep when everything repairs, your brain repairs, your gut repairs. And, this is when your muscles are going to be growing while you're sleeping. So pillar number 4 is consistency. And so it's not being extreme, because extreme is doing extreme things. Extreme is going on an extreme diet, cutting really extreme caloric restriction. Extreme can be going on, medications or multiple medications that pretty much always have some kind of a side effect. So we're not talking about daily punishment here. We're talking about, in terms of building lean muscle, I would say 2 to 3 sessions a week is going to be adequate. And honestly, those 2 to 3 sessions a week could be 15-minute sessions. I would rather that you carve out 15 or 20 minutes and really smartly plan a workout. It just could be 2 different sets, honestly, working different muscles. One day you could do upper body, one day lower body, one day full body. That's generally what I recommend for my clients. But in that 15-minute period, that's when you really need to lift heavy and make the most of that time. But that was a huge relief for me, because as a very busy woman, it's like, no, you don't have to go to the gym and work out for an hour 3 times a week. And so I started with 10 minutes here, and then 15 minutes, and sometimes 20 minutes, and occasionally I'll do more. But how I want you to really think about it for most very, very busy women in midlife and beyond is 3 sessions, 2 to 3, but ideally 3, 15 to 20 minutes each time, making sure that you're lifting really heavy and start getting that dialed in. And you might initially need to have somebody looking at your form to make sure that it's correct and that you're doing it really safely. So, with those pillars, those 3 pillars, and I'll just quickly recap them. So number 1 is the nutritional piece. It's getting enough of this really high quality protein. And if you're looking towards trying to swap out your animal protein for plant protein, you're probably going to have a much quicker and more significant result, because you're not eating saturated fat. And if you're eating saturated fat, it not only drives up your bad cholesterol, but you're going to have a harder time shifting that belly fat and dialing down that inflammation. So the more you can switch out for plant-based proteins, you're going to be very, very happy with your body and how you feel. But nutrition is the foundational piece. And then from there, making sure adequate protein, then we are going into your heavy lifting, and we're going to go into recovery and sleep, making sure that you're getting enough of that, and then just being consistent. And the only way we can be consistent, let's be honest, ladies, is just small increments of exercise. Just think of the difference. If I ask you right now, do you think you could get in 15 minutes 3 times a week, 2 times a week? I think most of you are going to say, yeah, I can manage that. And there's other forms of exercise, but as it directly relates to burning fat, you absolutely need to do that, because essentially, and I'll finish with this, land the plane here, is what you're doing is you're turning your body literally into a fat burning machine. And it's so exciting. It's so empowering when you can start building muscle like that, because you feel good, you feel empowered. It has many other benefits as well. But that is often the missing piece with the belly fat, because women think that they need to diet, restrict, and eat, lots of tons and tons of protein with saturated fat in, and nobody's getting results. And that is why. All right. So if your body hasn't been responding, it's not your age. Yes, it gets a little bit more difficult after 50, dropping estrogen. We are going to store a little bit more in our belly, sometimes a lot more in our belly, but it does not have to be that way. I promise you. So it's just maybe for you that no one has shown you really how to do it properly at this stage of life. So if this was helpful, do make sure you subscribe. Look at some information in the description. There's all sorts of things that you might want to look at. There's a masterclass that I've created for women after 50 to get their confidence, health, and vitality back. Highly recommend you give that a listen. And there's also the opportunity, if you're really, really struggling, of booking a breakthrough session with me and my team. So you can look at that too. But get these things dialed in. I promise you, you do not have to live with that extra fat, that extra visceral fat. It is not healthy. It can, if left unchecked, can lead to metabolic disorders. So we're not talking about a vanity thing here. We're talking about a health thing. And as I always say, until I'm blue in the face, if you focus on future-proofing your body, age-proofing your body, which is building this beautiful lean muscles, strong bones, and focus on lowering your risk of all chronic diseases that women face after 50, through nutrition, then the fat release is going to be a secondary benefit. I promise you. Okay, I'll see you next time.